OU.
The Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Wednesday morning. We are glad that you have joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day and make an Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Brett and Randy here this morning. Good to see you, Randy. A lot to dive into here on Hump Day, Wednesday, getting ever so closer to the first SEC matchup for the Auburn Tigers, and it is going to be a tough one, no doubt about it. Going on the road to Norman, Oklahoma. This will only be the fourth time these two teams have met. It hadn't worked out for Auburn to this point. Gave it away last year. No other way to spin it. 8 minutes to go in a ball game. You were up 11 in the fourth quarter, and you found a way to screw it away, and Auburn did it. It was a plethora of mistakes, and so it wasn't some good Oklahoma team. It was a great opportunity for Auburn to get their first win against Oklahoma, and they couldn't get it done at home. That was a team last year, Auburn, that found ways to lose games rather than find ways to figure out how to win games. They were in every game, but they found ways to lose them. So going to be a little bit tougher if they want to pick up the first win against the Oklahoma Sooners this time as they go on the road.
Well, very difficult, and you bring the coaches up, but I think the national pundits will also bring the quarterbacks up. And it's not that there's a lot of question marks around Mateer, but the storyline with Jackson Arnold going back to Oklahoma, and honestly, as well as he has played in the early part of the season, is which one of these two quarterback ceilings the highest with the two programs they're with now. And, we said it going into the offseason this past year that we've got a lot of confidence in Hugh Freeze, and we've been more than willing to say that Hugh Freeze has done a tremendous job of recruiting and flipping this roster and making it better than it was before he got there. But at the end of the day, getting a top-notch quarterback currently at Auburn, with the players that we have on the roster now in comparison to, say, Georgia, Alabama, and others, is very important. And up to this point, Jackson Arnold's looked the part. You were really high on Mateer this past offseason and was hopeful that Auburn would, at least make a run at him, but we got the other one. Not that that's bad or good. We'll know a lot more on Saturday. But both of these coaches also have really kind of righted the ship a little bit so far, but we couldn't say that last year. We had hoped to say that 4 or 5 games in last year, and we couldn't. So at least we can this year, and I'm sure Oklahoma's saying the same, Brett. So it's a massive, massive game all the way around on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said, this is a pressure cooker game for both of these coaches. Seems like the main storyline is the two quarterbacks, and rightfully so, but not what we're going to talk about today. I think both it's a given that the spotlight's going to be on them, and I think both of them are going to have to play well. You're going to have to play well as the quarterback for your team in every game if you want to give your team a chance to win. So this isn't any different there. The lore of that is Jackson Arnold returning and all that, and we've talked about it, and everybody else has talked about it. So there's nothing special there. I want to talk about Brent Venables as a head coach at Oklahoma, is when they go out and get him from Clemson as a defensive coordinator, and feel like he's a guy that Bob Stoops was a defensive minded guy, and you want to go out and find the guy to take over, and frankly he hadn't been able to get it done. His first year in 22 was 6-7. Now he bounced back in 23, had a 10-3 season. So everybody's like, okay, maybe but last year returned to mediocrity at 6-7. He won 2 SEC games. They happened to be the 2 teams in the borders of this state, Alabama and Auburn, and Jackson Arnold performed extremely well against Alabama, didn't play against Auburn. But Auburn let a freshman beat them last year, a guy that hadn't even had a start come in, and it really wasn't what he did. It was really the comedy of errors that Auburn did that gave Oklahoma that win. Again, this is the first time Auburn will make a trip to Norman. Last time was the first time Oklahoma had made a trip to Auburn, and the other two times the two teams had played in the Sugar Bowl. So, bottom line is Oklahoma's got to win against Michigan. Auburn's got to win against Baylor. The other two games that they've both played, you can X those out. So I say this is the biggest test to date for both teams. Michigan, their offense is terrible. And Baylor, their defense is terrible. So I think both teams had an opportunity to go in against a team that they were better than and prove that they were better, and they passed that test. Now they've got to go prove in SEC play, and it's a gauntlet for both of these teams. And I would argue that Oklahoma's got a tougher run than Auburn. Like if Auburn wins this game, obviously they are well on their way because you feel like you got to get one of these two on the road, and then you come home to a break, and then you got Georgia. If you're Oklahoma, if you win this game, I don't know that you go – there's much relief because when you rattle off Texas and you rattle off the line of teams I threw out there yesterday for Oklahoma, they've got about a 7-game stretch that's rough. Auburn's got a 3-game. I'm not saying the rest of the games after the Georgia game aren't tough because obviously Vanderbilt's playing better, Missouri. But Auburn's got 3 games right here we all pointed to that we said if Auburn's really going to be a contender, they got to split on the road and they got to find some way to get over the dang hump against Georgia and go 2-1 in these games. And if they go 2-1 in these games, then it sets up really well the rest of the way out.
Well, everybody will be confident that Hugh Freeze is the right guy and we're moving in the right direction. But if you go 1-2 in those and you look bad, that's the problem over the years with Auburn. It is not necessarily the losses. It's the discrepancy in talent that becomes brutally obvious out there on the field that you and I have had problems with. It's not that you lose to Georgia 17-13 and it's close in the fourth. It's if they wanted to beat us by 50, they could beat us by 50. And that's what we've got to clean up. And so I don't see this year's team being one of those teams that should ever be in a situation where we look across the field and go, they're just way more talented than us. And outside of them shooting their entire foot off, we're not going to be in this football game. I think Auburn's got a great chance, but we can stick on either side of the ball you want to, Brett. I'll start with defense. There's a lot of question marks currently with Auburn's defense, but I want to stick with a positive right now. More snaps for Jared Smith is about to become very obvious in the future. And why? Because he is a big man. He looks like a big man amongst big men. When you look on the field and you say, I remember you and I saying that about King Dunlap many moons ago.
Oh, yeah.
He was a big man on a field with a whole lot of other big people. And Jared Smith looked like that. And you've been saying it, and we've seen him at Thompson, and we've called games for him over the years. And we know what type of athlete he was, but you just don't know, especially on the defensive line at that position like an end where you've got to be able to hold an edge and get a pass rush. You got to be able to do both to stay in there for a lot of snaps. If he was going to hold up here in year one, man, my eyes tell me that more of him is needed. And if we haven't had a bad pass rush. I'm not saying that, but if we can get an outstanding pass rush, it may help for the next couple of weeks, our issues that are glaringly obvious back in the secondary right now.
Going to have a pass rush. Auburn's got to have a pass rush against this guy. This is arguably the best quarterback Auburn will play all season. And they played a good one a few weeks ago in Sawyer Robertson. And I've told everybody, I don't know if Baylor's a 3.5-point favorite over Arizona State this weekend. They got them at home. I don't see why, unless they just completely crap the bed, they don't beat Arizona State. Arizona State lost to Mississippi State. They're obviously not the same team they were last year. And rightfully so, because Scatterboo's playing for the New York Giants, and he ain't playing for them this year, namely one. But they still do have a great quarterback over there. But Sawyer Robertson, I would see if Baylor gets past them, you could see Sawyer Robertson running the table this year for Baylor. And I know their defense is terrible, but it's all about their schedule. And the point I'm going to is that Sawyer Robertson would be hard pressed not to be in New York because he's going to be putting up unbelievable. He's already got he's already thrown for over 1,000 yards already. I mean, this guy is well on his way to unbelievable numbers this year. John Mateer's the next guy up. I would say Auburn's top two nemesis quarterback wise are these two guys. So can Auburn get past this test? You got to get a pass rush. We didn't play well against Sawyer Robertson. Robertson had good numbers. We just were able to get what we needed to get done running the football and control the clock because Baylor's defense was terrible. Well, Oklahoma's defense isn't terrible. They're not spectacular, but they're not terrible. And so they're going to shut the run down for Auburn on defense and force Jackson Arnold to throw. Well, guess what? We got to figure out a way to slow down John Mateer and force them to run the ball. That's where you got to flip the script if you're Auburn, because in the first game against Illinois State, and I know it was Illinois State, but he still threw for 392 yards in that game. Against Michigan, when you look at John Mateer's numbers, he threw for 270 yards. Against Temple last week, he looked, about what you would expect, 287. This guy's throwing for 250 to 300 plus in every game. And it should concern Auburn fans with the secondary play right now because we hadn't really done very well against anybody other than Ball State.
Well, there's a freshman that we'll talk about, and I guess the other two that we're going to see a lot more of, if you read into the comments, Hugh Freeze, are those two safeties back there. And we know from a talent standpoint, we questioned how long it would be before we saw Fagans and we saw Winters in the ball game. We saw Winters a little bit earlier than Fagans, but this past
he's playing
weekend,
well, by the way.
But this past Saturday, we started seeing Fagans in there, and Brett, he moves at a different speed. He's probably still trying to fill his way out in the SEC and fill his way out against these skilled athletes. But I like what I see with him, always have. He's always been a dynamic playmaker, not only a tackler, but just somebody that has a nose for the football and can make plays. And he made a beautiful open field tackle this past Saturday that if he doesn't make, it's a score. And he finds his way around the field, and you've got to find a way to get guys like that into the ball game more often. So I know part of the question could be, are you rotating so many in and out that the communication's breaking down in the secondary? And I can buy into that to a certain extent, but I've got a lot of confidence in DJ Durkin, and I think most Auburn people do too, that he's going to right the ship and we're going to be really good on the defensive side. But I'm not positive the best two options we have at safety aren't those two freshmen. And if that's the case and Jared Smith gets more snaps, it may mean for a negative play from time to time because you're putting someone that young out there, Brett, but I'll take my chances when the player that we have out there ceiling's higher than a few of the others that we've been playing. And all three of those, I feel like that may be the case. Now, I'd love to see Falk play a little better than he has. Looked like he had a better game on Saturday. He was a little more active. He was in the flow more than we had seen the previous couple of weeks. And we all want him to be a top 10 pick and to be a 15-year NFL pro and be special. And I think he still can, but it hasn't been an explosive start to the season for him. Am I off by saying that?
No, had two tackles against South Alabama. Kieron Crawford showed up again for the third consecutive game with 5 tackles. Talking about the two freshmen you mentioned, Eric Winters is starting to be one of the top tacklers every week. He had 5 tackles as well. You want your middle linebacker to have a good game. Robert Woodyard, 5 tackles as well. It was spread out. Caleb Harris had 8, but when you look down, Falk had 2. You mentioned you mentioned Anquan Fagans. He had 2. DeMarcus Riddick had 2. So there are opportunities, and there are a lot of freshman guys and sophomore guys playing for Auburn right now that, again, if Auburn can have a good season, man, the future is just unbelievable because you're playing these guys now and they're getting this real-time experience, and you're relying on them to contribute, and they are right now. But you're right, going back, but would love to see more out of Keldrick Faulk, and if you get more out of him, that's going to help. But he's going to have to be a force in this game. This is where guys that have the accolades and the preseason nods and all that, this is where they show up. They show up when the lights are the brightest and the environment's the toughest and the team that you're playing is the best. And that's, again, Oklahoma. Are they smoking mirrors right now at number 11 in the country? I mean, I don't know. Do they deserve that 11th ranking? Who knows? I mean, did they get that based off of a win against a very, very maligned Michigan team? We'll see. Auburn has a chance to go in, and that's going to lead me to the next part about Coach Freeze. We talked about Venables. I want to talk about some of our partners first. I want to come back and talk about Hugh Freeze as far as the enormity of this game for him. All right, Sensagreen, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensagreen. They are the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, and they've got a lot of great deals going on with Professor Greenbacks right now. You can get a lot of money back by calling on Sensagreen and going ahead and getting that carrier unit installed. Again, we're in the transition months for the state of Alabama. You're going from hot to cold to hot. And I don't mean in 1 week. I'm talking about in a day. I mean, you wake up, you're freezing. Midday, you're burning up. And back at night, you're freezing again. So putting a lot of strain on that unit. Get you a carrier unit. They will hold up, and you'll be glad. You'll save money on your power bill and everything else. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm in Birmingham, Alabama. Saw Sloan and Jay yesterday. Man, those two guys are great. And I've watched them work and see what a great job they do on these big projects and holding these massive construction companies accountable for the customers they work for. So call on Scout Program Management. If you have a multi-million-dollar project or a big project of some sort that you need the leadership and the comfortability that they're going to take care of it, Scout Program Management's the program management company to call on. You will not be disappointed. And Bunkers in downtown Auburn, we were over at Bunkers last week. They've renovated. They've got a whole new seating area. They've got those 2 bars. They've got plenty of parking. They've been having all types of specials. Man, the place has been packed on the weekends. Go check out Bunkers. The food, the atmosphere, man, all of those guys over there, KJ, Allen, Wes, love all those guys. Man, they do a tremendous job of giving you top-notch customer service. So call on Bunkers and go see them today. Tell them Auburn Blitz sent you. All right. Again, pressure cooker for both these coaches. Hugh Freeze. What would you say his biggest win at Auburn has been, Randy?
Oh gosh, A&M or Baylor. I mean, whichever one you want to pick. I mean, I personally think it's probably the Baylor game on the road to start the season this year, because if he didn't win that football game,
oh man,
we are jumping off bridges at this point as Auburn fans. It would be very difficult to see an end in sight for him if he went on the road in that opening week and lost. So I would say the Baylor game this year, and I know that that's not some massive SEC win, but that's the state of the program currently. And
probably going to end up being a pretty doggone good win, not because Baylor's they're gonna be in the talk, Randy, because of their schedule.
Yeah,
and they are a better team now. It's going to be crazy to see a team with a defense as porous as theirs is, go win 11 football games this year or 10 and have a chance and be in the play. If Baylor goes 10-2 or 11-1, they're in the playoffs, period. So
in that conference, yes.
Yeah, you don't see teams with that porous of a defense. Now, they couldn't have that record in the SEC. There's no way. But they will. But you're right. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that is it's going to look like a big win at the end of the season.
So they're few and far between. I mean, this would by far be the biggest win for Auburn on the road at Oklahoma, and in a matchup that we're 0-3 currently. So, and that you could make the same argument for Venables, but I won't. You know, as an Auburn fan, there's just a lot of anxiety with this program right now. You know, and I don't mean that in a negative fashion. I just think that we're all starved for a good product. And it's not that Oklahoma's not starved, but Oklahoma hasn't been as dry as long as we have. You know, only a couple of years ago,
They won 10 games.
They had an outstanding quarterback, and they won some big games throughout that season. And they took a step back when they lost the quarterback.
Right.
But they've gone out there and got the number one quarterback in the portal this year. So this would be a massive win for Auburn, and I think it's doable. I really, truly feel like Hugh Freeze deserves the credit with Derek Nix and DJ Durkin and the rest of this staff and putting a quality, talent-wise, athleticism-wise product together and on the lines of scrimmage that can compete up and down the SEC. And we'll know if what I'm saying right now is just a complete fabrication and we're the exact same as we've been, or if we're moving in the right direction with Hugh Freeze and can count on him being here for the long haul based on the play this Saturday. That's how big it is.
I'm going to go. I agree with you, but I'm going to I'm going to also say it's equally as important for Brent Venables, because if he loses this game, they'll go to 0-1 in league play, and they won 2 games last year, and then they'll have Kent State at home, which is a no-brainer. Then they got Texas. Now, Texas isn't looking very good either. They are I don't know what's going on there. They are woefully underperforming. And it has to do with Arch Manning throwing for 114 yards against UTEP last week. That was terrible. Something's going on with him. Like, he looks like he's in pain, and I'm not bouncing around, but they're not the tech. Now, that game doesn't look as daunting as everybody made it out to be, but it is still Texas. It is still a rivalry. You know how that game goes. Then they got to travel to South Carolina, and Lord, 2 weeks ago, that looked like a terrible deal for Oklahoma. It doesn't look so bad now that Vanderbilt went over there and completely dusted them right off their own field. Then they come home and play Ole Miss. Ole Miss has got their questions. Ole Miss is, I don't know that anybody's just overly impressed with Ole Miss right now, because they've given up a boatload of points. They can't stop anybody. They just had to outscore Arkansas, which nobody's really surprised by Lane Kiffin coach team. He doesn't play defense a lot. So maybe that's not as tough. Then they go to Tennessee. I do still think Tennessee's a really good football team. It took everything Georgia had to win, and they probably shouldn't have. I think Tennessee lost the game at the end with mismanagement of time and, trying to run another play and then getting a penalty and having to kick a field goal, and then they miss it. Then they've got Alabama on the road, and then they've got Missouri, and then they got LSU. I mean, there's no break. There's no break for Oklahoma. They're looking at this Auburn game as one they've got to have. If they lose that game, I think the pressure ramps up to a level that Brent Venables hasn't felt even last year, and he was feeling it last year. So I think the pressure cooker is equal for both of these coaches. And I think with it being at home for Oklahoma, it may be a little bit more on him.
We'll see. Trust me, it's hot on Hugh Freeze still too. Maybe not with the crowd that you talked to, Brett, but the crowd
I'm saying it's equal. I'm just saying it's equal at best for both.
Yeah, the crowd I talked to still wait and see for sure, and this is the game to wait and see. So any injury updates, Glenn asked, Brett?
Yeah, Amaris Williams probably not going to play in this game. When you look at it from a standpoint of shoulder popped right back in, but he was heavily braced yesterday at practice, so I would be very shocked if you saw him go back out there. And he's playing well, by the way. That's a loss for Auburn for sure. Malcolm Simmons will be back in this game, which is good. I think he could have played, and Coach Freeze said that Saturday afternoon in the press conference. He and Rayshawn Pleasant could have played against South Alabama if they needed them, but there was no need. So you'll see both of those guys back, and I definitely think you'll see Damari Alston give it a shot. And I'm not as concerned now after the last 2 weeks with what Jeremiah Cobb has done if Damari Alston's not able to go. Because now if Damari Alston is able to go, you got that three-headed monster back there running the football again. You got the two running backs, and you got Jackson Arnold. And so it just gives Auburn a better shot when you got a little bit more depth there. But I do think with Jackson Arnold and Jeremiah Cobb, they'll both be up to the task, and they can get it done if it's just those two. Really, that's about it. I mean, you feel like Auburn is about as healthy as they can be going in. Outside of the little bangs and bruises, Eric Singleton's still kind of nursing a bruise, but I think he'll be fine. You saw, he had a good game against South Alabama. I think he'll be fine, against Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma will be without their top defensive player in the first half, their edge rusher, which, hey, look, you better take advantage of it in the first half because he was called for targeting in the second half of the Temple game. So he will be out in the first half. That should give Auburn some opportunities to do some things. Look, you take the best player off any team, they're going to feel an impact. I don't care. There's a reason he's the best player. So can Auburn take advantage of that?
Well, and it being an edge rusher, which I think is a position that's even more important in today's game when you've got a versatile quarterback like Jackson Arnold, that wants to move around, wants to scare you with his legs, can get outside of the pocket and create some mismatches for the secondary or a linebacker matched up. And so if I had to pick a position for them to have somebody out, it would probably be that one. So, Oklahoma minus any players in this game out for either team's going to be big. And I hope Damari's back. Omar Mabson's looked good when he's had opportunities, but you can tell that he's a young kid that is feeling his way. He looks the part. I think he's going to have a great career at Auburn, but you need those two that have been around the program for multiple years to really get a lot of the carries. And, just talking to you last week, it felt like Damari could go if needed. And so I suspect that he will go on Saturday and give it a run, and we need the best version of him.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that is there's going to be a major plus to get him back and get him rested up. So, we'll look at that, and we'll kind of see if I have any updates the rest of the week. Obviously, we will give that to everybody out there. We will be traveling out to Norman. Early morning for us, flying out after the game on Friday night. But we'll be there, and then we'll have our post-game show reminder on that after the game. After the press conference, we will get to wherever it is that we're going to go, and we'll have the post-game show reaction show brought to you by Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. So, again, very, very appreciative of them. Enjoyed that. Looking forward to that. And, again, make sure you tune us in if you haven't subscribed to our channel. If you do that, then you'll get an alert when we go live. So you can catch that on Facebook, and you can catch that on YouTube as well. All right, let's talk about some more of our partners before we get off here this morning. Again, we appreciate all of our partners allowing us to bring you this podcast each and every day. Old Number One Customs, there is a ton of dust and junk in my house right now, but it's all for the better. There's pain in growth, I guess, right? In improvement. So finishing up the master bathroom project here at my house, and I'll be honest, I'll be glad when they're finished. But they will have pulled off a beautiful project, and I'm going to show everybody when they get finished. It's very, very close. You need a remodel of your kitchen, your bathroom, your whatever, your bedroom, an outdoor living space, make sure you call on old number one customers, 334-752-6162. You will be glad that you did it. Go check them out online. See all the great work they do. JFA Blue Plumbing, their sister company, 844 JFA Blue for the Home Atlas water filter duo system to go and be installed in your house to bring purified drinking water to all of your faucets out there. Make sure you call on them. You will be glad that you did. Everybody needs to be drinking purified water. Go look at what comes out of those filters, and you'll second guess yourself pouring a glass of water out of the tap. Oliver Ross, a full-service bartending company that will come out to your tailgate, your party, your convention, and they'll bring licensed and trained bartenders to come handle your event. I talked to Mark this week. They had a big sorority party. Glad that they're working and on college campuses. Make sure you call on them. They will take care of you, and you'll look like you know what you're doing with all your people. They'll say, man, you hired a great company, and you don't want us fixing anything and spilling it all over the place. Call on Oliver Ross. Appreciate all of them so very much. Just in closing here, again, Auburn will will travel out on Friday, get to Oklahoma, and then prepare for that 2:30 kickoff. I think, again, it's not a make or break game for Auburn this year because you got another one coming up right behind it in Texas A&M. So you can't just say, well, if we lose this game or if Auburn loses this game, the season's over. It's not. But if you win this game, man, to go to 1-0 in conference play, to get the biggest win under Hugh Freeze's belt, to go on the road and beat a very formidable team would do wonders for this team's confidence moving forward.
Definitely will. Going to be a fun game for us Auburn fans to see if, 3 years into Hugh Freeze, if we've got the right pieces in place to have a successful run. And I'm very hopeful that we are. I think a lot of this coaching staff, like a lot of those guys, just watching the way that they interact with the fan base and how well they've recruited up to this point. I know that we've taken a bit of a step back in recruiting, but it feels like we're taking a step forward in the last few weeks once we figured out exactly how we wanted to play this recruiting game this year, and all of the money that is going from hand to hand and all that. We don't have to go down that path, Brett, but my point is that count me in as one of those Auburn fans that hope that we see some good progress and we can lean on this coaching staff to be here a while and we can put a quality product out there on the field, because I truly believe that's what us Auburn fans deserve. I think we're one of, if not the best fan base in the country, very, very passionate about our football and all of our other sports. And when we have something to really feel good about, we come out in droves, and we need that, and we need something that we can grab a hold of. And this Saturday would be a big time step in the right direction if we can put a good quality product out there on the field.
Amen to that. No doubt about it. Well, to wrap us up for the Auburn Blitz here on this Wednesday morning, again, we appreciate all of you so much out there. We are on the cusp of 11,000 subscribers, and it's all because of all of you out there helping us spread the word. And again, keep supporting us. If you like our content, make sure you hit like. That helps us out tremendously. And again, go out and have the best day ever. Make it good for somebody. Be nice to somebody. We always want to encourage that. It's easier to be nice than it is to be mean. And then, of course, we'll be back with you tomorrow for another edition of the Auburn Blitz. Have a great day, everybody.